All right, what's up, everybody? It's Dynasty Life. It's your boy Steve here with my two counterparts.
The Polish Hammer.
You got the Bagla special. What's up, fellas?
All right, in today's episode, we're going to go over round one of the NFL draft. Everybody that got picked, we don't care about defensive players. This is strictly fantasy and dynasty. No disrespect to the defensive guys.
I mean, to be fair, though, Steve, we do have individual defensive players that are in our league.
This is true. This is true. But we're going over strictly, obviously, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. Okay. So we're going to go over the first round, who got picked, what we think of that. And we'll go through all the, I think, 6 or 7 picks and also the 2 trades, A.J. Brown and also Hollywood Brown. Brown's on the move. So I guess we'll start with, obviously, round number 1, Drake London, first wide receiver off the board for the Atlanta Falcons. I knew they were going to pick Drake London, by the way. But great pick for them. Instantly, they're wide receiver 1 now, obviously, without Calvin Ridley there. So I think he jumps into, a good target share right away. But obviously with Marcus Mariota there, they are probably going to run the ball a little bit more. So we'll see what happens there. But he jumps into a great situation with him and Kyle Pitts, nice young receiving core there. What do you guys think about Drake London here?
Well, for me, more than anything, they needed a wide receiver, probably just as bad as maybe my favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, in terms of they lost Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones. Prime Julio Jones is not walking through that door ever again. So you pair him, and I think this benefits Kyle Pitts a lot from a fantasy standpoint because now you can't just load up on Kyle Pitts anymore. There is an actual threat in that Atlanta offense. So you look at the numbers here, 6'4", 219. If you're going to ask for a receiver a prototype, you're looking for that kind of size. So I'm a huge fan of big physical wide receivers. I think that the talent is there. I think that the opportunity also is there because who else are they throwing to? So it's going to be the Kyle Pitts and Drake London show. And, all signs point to him kind of just busting out from the beginning in terms of opportunity. And I'm a little uncertain at the quarterback position with Marcus Mariota. Now, I know they just picked up a quarterback. My ESPN alert thing just went off that the Falcons actually drafted a quarterback in the 4th round, I believe. So we'll see how that pans out. But I liked Marcus Mariota when he got drafted. I didn't think he was the greatest. He was more like a hybrid runner thrower kind of deal, but we'll see how that pans out. But I just think for opportunities alone and targets, he'll be able to produce good volume in a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 to start, and then see where it goes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think he's right there, like a low-end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 2 upside. So, Bagla, what do you think here about Drake London?
I like the pick. They needed a wide receiver. They went and got a wide receiver. A lot is going to be determined on how Marcus Mariota looks and things like that.
Yep.
But he you know what I'm saying? Big physical guy. He was good at SC. He's going to get red zone targets and things like that. What else does Atlanta really have right now? They can't run the ball worth the squat. They got Cordell Patterson, who's a Swiss Army knife, but you know what I'm saying? So it is going to be Drake London. It is going to be Kyle Pitts. I do like their pickup of Desmond Ridder in the 3rd round. So
Ridder, that was the pick, right?
Yeah, hopefully he does. He comes in and not this year probably, but maybe next year he can challenge for a starting job or whatever the case is. But let's not forget also, Atlanta has a lot of holes. They can't block either. They nearly killed Matt Ryan last year. So I wouldn't go low end wide receiver 2. I would want to see this offense maybe Wide receiver 3 more, to start out the season, flex maybe, because if you can't block, you can't throw, you can't run, you can't do anything, and Atlanta can't block. So there's a lot of holes, but as far as the pick, I think he has potential. He's a big receiver. He's gonna win those 50-50 jump balls. That's what you hope. And off the bat, he's gonna get those red zone looks. You know what I'm saying? It just all depends on what this team and what this offense is gonna look like. Coming into the season. They have to. Mariota can run, but whoever's behind center, they got to give him some time to get down the field, to throw the ball to these guys and things like that. So I like the pick. I like London. I think in a dynasty draft, there's other wide receivers I would take before London, just off of situation alone. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get into it, Garrett Wilson, I would take before London. I think I think the Jets had a great draft, and I think Garrett Wilson is in a little bit of a better situation than London. So he's a talent. You may have to wait on him just because of, what Atlanta's team is going to be, because you can get him and good. You stash him, you put him in a taxi slot, whatever. But, you don't know how long it's going to take for him to actually put up some decent numbers. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know what Atlanta is. Atlanta's pretty bad right now. So, but I do like the player itself, and I do think he has some potential. And I would take him in maybe the back half of a dynasty draft. I just think just based off the situation, there's other receivers that I would take before him. But if Atlanta gets it together, I feel like he could probably be, maybe, I think they're trying to rebuild that model of when they had Julio. Big Julio's 6'4", 6'5", 220.
That prototype.
And it's just, it's what they had, it's their, it's how they draft receivers. And you know what I'm saying? You don't know Calvin Ridley's not going to come back. You know what I'm saying? And if he does, is he going to pull another Pete Rose? So the kid has everything going for him, but Atlanta needs to tighten it up.
Yeah. That brings us to the next guy, as you mentioned him, Garrett Wilson, was the next wide receiver off the board to the New York Jets. Great pick there to just getting young talent, lining him up with Elijah Moore, I think is great. I don't think that hurts Elijah Moore's dynasty value at all. And just
two different receivers.
Yep. So, I still like Elijah Moore. There's a lot of people in the dynasty community trying to, say that Elijah Moore, is falling down a little bit. I don't agree with that. I think he's absolutely fine there.
Because you also have to look at where both of these guys are going to play. Garrett Wilson, he can play all over, but you have Elijah Moore is gonna probably try and get most of his work in that slot. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably give him jet sweeps. Elijah Moore's value, I don't think, takes a big hit, because regardless, they're gonna find ways to get him the ball, be it running the ball on the jet sweeps or little screens and things like that, coming out of the slot, short passes like that. Even though Garrett Wilson is not that big of a guy, he plays bigger. He'll go up and get the ball. He has long arms. He's fast. He has great route running. I like his route running. Both of those receivers that came out of Ohio State on the route running category, and I think Zach Wilson has all of the tools laid in front of him. We didn't even talk about the Jets picked up Breece Hall in the second round.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
We're going to put that on another episode, but just on Wilson.
So they have some weapons, and I like Garrett Wilson. I would take Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson should be in a dynasty draft this year. Garrett Wilson should be the first wide receiver taken. Just
I don't agree
because
with that,
just because of situation alone. I mean,
yeah.
a lot of
So
these guys are going to bad teams, but if you
so
look
you
at what the
said
Jets have done,
you said we've heard from you. You said you like Wilson over Drake London. I'm the opposite. I'd rather have Drake London in Dynasty than Garrett Wilson. I just think he's instantly the wide receiver one. He'll see more targets than Garrett Wilson will. So just by opportunity there, I like London better. But what do you think here, Hammer?
Yeah, I mean, from a physical standpoint, obviously I prefer a bigger receiver. But there's something to be said about what the Jets are doing. And I've never been high on the Jets as an organization from a draft standpoint, i.e. Sam Darnold, i.e. some of their other picks that, haven't worked out. But it seems like the Jets are being super aggressive. They're drafting high talent, high quality guys, particularly in the first round, as we see with Wilson, as we see with the cornerback they picked up, Sauce. So I like what the Jets are doing, but more specifically with Garrett Wilson, they're putting the pieces around Zach Wilson to really be that guy that they grow together. There are a bunch of young dudes. Like you said, they drafted Breece Hall. I would prefer the bigger receiver, but you can't really argue with this pick in terms of where they got him, what he's going to be for Zach Wilson. And I think that you combine that with Elijah Moore. Also, Corey Davis is still there as well. So the weapons, I think, are there for a little bit more of a balanced attack, right? Where you can't just key in on one guy. So I feel like he'll be able to grow with Zach Wilson. He'll be able to, they'll have years together. They're both super young. Obviously, Zach Wilson in the second year. Garrett's going to be a rookie. So I think that the pieces are in place. We'll see everything. And we're going to talk about this with pretty much all of these guys that got drafted. Really, it's who's throwing to them is really good, is what's going to determine A, how good they are, and B, what their fantasy value is going to be, right? Because you could draft a receiver that's maybe not as talented, but if he goes to Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, you may value them a little bit higher in terms of fantasy production because they're catching passes from an established MVP all-pro type quarterback. So that's always going to be a factor in who's throwing to them. So Zach Wilson still has a lot to prove. Whether that production for Garrett Wilson translates into wide receiver 3 production, wide receiver 2 production, it really remains to be seen because we don't really know what Zach Wilson is as a complete quarterback yet. So a lot of these guys, especially that go in that top 10, top 12, they're going to bad teams, as Bagala said. So the production, we're really not sure. You know what I mean? So it's something to be said, but I do like where the Jets are going. I don't really get to say that often. So, it's going to be interesting to see those first 4 to 6 weeks, how they utilize him with Elijah Moore, with a Corey Davis, and then obviously with the running game.
Well, everybody likes a bigger receiver, but what we forget is that you also have to look at receivers. It's cool. You see a big receiver, he can win those jump balls, this, that, and the third. But part of your job as a receiver is to get separation. I've watched a lot of
and route running. I agree with that.
Route running is one of the most important things for a receiver. I've watched a lot of Ohio State the past year just because we got into Dynasty, but also I like watching college football. Garrett Wilson is probably the most polished receiver in this draft. He's fast, but his route running is for a rookie and a kid coming out of college is very, very polished. And say what you want, right? And now as it stands, yeah, give me Zach Wilson over Mariota. We've seen what Mariota is. Mariota's
well, yeah, not as far as comparing quarterbacks, but I just feel like London just will have more opportunities. Like you said, Hammer, the Jets have a few. They got a bunch of different guys. They're going to spread the ball around. That's really just why I like London better there. But moving on to the next guy, Chris Olave goes to the Saints. Was the next wide receiver off the board. Pair him up with Michael Thomas over there, and now Jameis Winston once again has to good wide receivers next to him. What do you guys think about Olave here?
Again, those Ohio State wide receivers are really, really, really polished and really good. Chris Olave is shifty. Again, I can't stress it enough. Though Chris Olave's route running is probably better than Garrett Wilson. But he just doesn't have the go up and get it and things of that nature. Another kind of smaller guy, but I think he probably fell into the best situation. Really,
I was getting ready to go there.
Think about it.
I'm on board with that thinking. Yep.
You got a Kamara in the backfield when it comes back. On the other side is Michael Thomas. Now, Michael Thomas is probably going to get most of the looks, but we don't know what Michael Thomas is going to be because he hasn't played football in a year and a half. So, but given him just the benefit of the doubt, he's probably going to get, most of the looks. But on the other side, Chris Olave can beat one-on-one coverage consistently. And if you're going to double Michael Thomas, I kind of think Chris Olave is going to have the biggest year out of all of these receivers. He could. Now, Christian Watson with Aaron Rodgers, that's a little different. You really can't tell, but we'll get into that. But I like where Chris Olave went. I like his situation. I like the player, and I think he has the potential to probably have, the best season, not by much, but probably the best season out of the rookies, just based off of his situation alone. Mm-hmm. Jameson is no scrub.
Yeah. Well, I think these top three guys here, London, Wilson, and Olave in Dynasty rookie drafts are definitely the top three options. I think after that, it's kind of a toss-up, and you don't really know what's going to happen after that. But
even with them, no, I would say it's still a toss-up because they're rookies. You never know what injuries. You don't know how they're going to, what they're going to do. But
as far as drafting.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
And then the next guy goes up right after, three wide receivers back to back. Jameson Williams goes to the Lions, which was very unexpected. I don't think anybody saw that coming. They moved up in the draft. I don't know about you guys, but I thought they were definitely taking the QB there. But took Jameson Williams. Obviously, he will not be probably ready for the start of the season. But pair him up with St. Brown and Sharks on a 1-year deal. So, but I like the Jameson Williams pick for them. I just don't know about the whole QB situation that they got going on right now. So, what do you guys think about Jameson Williams here? What do you think, Hammer?
So for me, it's one of those weird things, and I'm going to say this a lot, especially with the draft. And I said it before, and I think Bagala hit it on the head when he was talking about situations. For me, when we're talking about the draft, we're talking about situations, right? Because we can imagine if Patrick Mahomes, when he got drafted, he went to the Lions. Would he still be Patrick Mahomes that we know today? I would probably bet money that he wouldn't be the Patrick Mahomes that we know today, right? The coach, the organization, there's a lot of things that go into what a player is going to become. And I'm not saying Detroit is a bad situation because they're actually stockpiling some talent, as we see with Amon-Ra. TJ Hawkinson is a terrific tight end.
They finished strong last year also.
TJ Hawkinson's a terrific tight end. They have DJ Shark, who, he's solid. I wouldn't call him a great receiver, but he's a solid receiver, and he's a veteran. Jared Goff is weird to me because when he first came out, I didn't think he was that good. And then he took the Rams to the Super Bowl, and I'm like, all right, maybe they're onto something. And then he stinks again. So I don't know what Jared Goff is. Is their offensive line going to be an issue? Bagala brought that up as well. When we're talking about wide receivers and running backs getting drafted, what does that offensive line look like? Is Jared Goff going to have time to throw the ball? So the pick is good. It feels like a shiny new toy in Detroit. Detroit's not a very good organization to begin with. I think he will get some burn. He obviously, they said he's coming off the ACL injury, but it remains to be seen. I do like Alabama wide receivers. They seem to produce good wide receivers. Julio Jones comes to mind. So it really remains to be seen. It's what's Jared Goff going to do. And for me, that determines situation and quarterback really are going to determine how these guys pan out and project out. But coming off the injury, going to Detroit, there's going to be some question marks there for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then just touching on St. Brown, just obviously the fantasy implications on that. Again, just like some people are a little more down on St. Brown. I'm not.
No way.
I don't think it matters that Jameson Williams goes there. I think St. Brown's role is kind of just, they know what his role is now, and they started putting it together at the end of last season. So he's going to get what he gets, whether Goff got time or not. He's the underneath guy, so I don't think it affects him at all.
Just real quick, Blanc, on that point, I wholeheartedly agree. You can have more than that 1,000-yard receiver on a given team. So from that standpoint, there's plenty of football to go around.
Mm-hmm. Not with Jared Goff, you can't.
Well, I mean, so obviously that's a factor, but just theoretically and thinking about it, if you have two good wide receivers, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing with St. Brown is even when Goff was hurt, he was still doing his thing. So it didn't matter who the quarterback was. They were still, they had their game plan. So I'm not really worried about St. Brown there. But let's go on to the next guy here. We have Jahan Dotson going to the Commanders. Baga, what do you think about this?
I actually like Dotson. He has the best hands, I think, of the group. He's very good with the ball in his hands. I wish he would have went to a better situation because I think in a dynasty draft, he is going to fall into that middle tier. And just Carson Wentz is, Carson Wentz. But
tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that you don't. Carson Wentz is so unpredictable, and you don't know what you're gonna get. I know, Steve, you were talking about, you think Carson Wentz is gonna be good for Terry? I don't think so.
Well, I think it's better than what they had.
Yeah,
that's all.
Better than what they had. But can you confidently say that? Can you confidently say that Carson Wentz is going to be better than Tyler Heineke? You cannot. You do not know what
If Pittman was able to finish as the number 17 wide receiver in PPR, he was top 20. I think that's very much in the realm for Terry McLaurin. But Steve, I don't think he'll be as good as McLaurin, but and again, I don't think this hurts McLaurin at all in any way. But I see Terry McLaurin as a top 20 wide receiver. If Pittman did it last year with Wentz, I don't see how there's any reason why Terry can't do that.
So but Steve, what you're saying is that Pittman was a top 20 wide receiver. Indianapolis is light years better than Washington. They're just better than Washington. They have a better supporting cast.
I think he's just looking at it from the quarterback.
I'm looking at it as just a quarterback standpoint to get the ball to the receiver. No, we're talking about fantasy implications. I'm not saying Carson Wentz is going to take them to the Super Bowl and going to freaking.
No, I'm not saying that.
Can't even get Indianapolis to the playoffs. Can't even beat
that. But that's my point.
I'm just saying that it's very much in the realm. Terry McLaurin is top 20 wide receiver. I don't think that's that's out of the realm of possibility at all.
No, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I just wish. I think Dotson is a player. I like the player. I think he has the best hands. He catches everything. He can go up. He can pick it. He's good in the open field. Kind of hard to bring down. Maybe as it stands right now. He's one of those type of, those Debo guys that when they get the ball in the open field, he can make some moves and he can do things with it. And it's just it's just that, I just don't have confidence. And that's why, I wanted to pick Dotson coming up, but it's just where he went gives me cause to pause because because of Carson Wentz and who's giving him the ball.
So, and this is exactly what I tied it into in my previous statement is that, listen, if Dotson would have went to if he would have went to New Orleans, if he would have went to the Chargers, we'd be having a whole different conversation about his prospects.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
if he would have went to Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo, Dallas, any of these teams, we would have been talking about him in a totally different light. So that's why for me, I love to look at the player. Obviously, in a vacuum, you want to look at his talent, you want to look at his size, his ability, his tape. You want to look at all that stuff. But for me, the most important thing is the organization that he goes to and the quarterback that's throwing him the ball. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's Terry McLaurin. Him working with Terry McLaurin, it can't be a bad thing, right? Terry McLaurin is a professional wide receiver, and 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons is not bad considering who the Commanders football team Redskins have had at quarterback over those seasons. So I think him being able to learn from Terry McLaurin and work with Terry McLaurin in the wide receiver room is only going to make him better in the long run. We might not be able to see his full capabilities till maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, because let's keep it up. Let's keep it 100. The Commanders are going to be looking for a quarterback in the next 2 years or so. Because Carson Wentz is not the long right. Carson Wentz is not the long-term answer. Now, I don't think Carson Wentz is a scrub, but I can't take Carson Wentz seriously if all you had to do was beat the Jaguars to get into the playoffs, and you can't do that.
You couldn't.
So for me, he's a great or good player with really good upside. And like I said, working with McLaurin is only going to benefit him in the long run. But I don't think we'll see that necessary impact for at least another 2 years, 3 years until they really get a quarterback that they consider a franchise quarterback.
Now, do I think he can be a wide receiver 3, maybe a flex mid-season? Yeah, he probably have some big games, but it's just going to be inconsistent, like you said, because of his quarterback is inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't really like his situation. So I'm staying away from Dotson if I can. Depending.
I wouldn't stay away from him.
Where you're picking, huh?
You could stash him in the taxi if you get him.
I wouldn't stay away from him. I'm definitely going to pick him.
Well, I'd want to pick someone else. If I could pick between Dotson and Treylon Burks, I want Treylon Burks. You know?
Yeah. But given the situation, Treylon Burks won't be there. You know what I'm saying? Dotson is going to be surrounded in that mid-tier. He's going to be surrounded by like a Kenneth Walker and no second-tier running backs and no second-tier wide receivers. Now, you know what I'm saying? Would you take Watson? I mean, would you take Dotson over Watson?
No.
The Packers drafted.
I'd take Watson.
There you go.
Better situation. It's just a better situation. I want Watson. I don't want to take the chance on Dotson. Now the thing is, the other part of it is dynasty. We know that Carson Wentz is not the long-term answer.
Yep.
So is Washington a good enough place? They got the wide receivers, they got Gibson, they got to run the game. Is that a place where maybe they go out and get a quarterback next year? You know, maybe they pay for one, maybe they trade for one, or maybe they draft one. Who knows? But we don't know what the quarterback situation will be.
It's uncertain right now.
Yep. It is uncertain, but the reason why I bring up Watson is because yes, Watson looks Christian Watson looks like yes, he's in a better situation. He's with and Polish can speak on this a little bit more because it's the Packers. He's in a better situation. Rookie wide receivers, they do not do well with Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't throw them the ball. He does not throw them the ball.
That's true, but he might not have a choice. You got to get used to them, sooner or later. I think Devontae Adams took him to the second season. I think before
longer.
Longer.
It took Devontae longer, bro, because they had Jordy Nelson, they had Randall Cobb.
Now they don't have those kind of guys, so he's kind of thrown into the fire.
That's fair.
Right away. So
that's fair, but for me, not to get too off track, but I just think that a guy like Watson is good, but we said Aaron Rodgers, he has to build the trust with guys, and how quickly is he going to build that trust? Now, I'd rather take Watson over Dotson just because there's upside there. I could stash Watson on my taxi squad to week 8, week 10, a year. Who cares? I know Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing him the football at some point, and that level of consistency and production is bound to be there at some point. So it's not like I'm drafting any of these guys to be my wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, even wide receiver 3, right? We're looking at flex plays, maybe wide receiver 3, depending on who it is. But to round it out, it's unfortunate for Dotson because, like I said, if he would have went to any of these following teams, we'd be talking about him in a completely different light.
Yep, that's true. Very, very, very true. So, yeah, I mean, I like Dotson there. Good pick for Washington, but for fantasy, not the best. The next guy after Dotson went was Treylon Burks with AJ Brown getting traded.
Yeah.
So Treylon Burks there basically just like the replacement almost.
You see it right here. NFL comp, AJ Brown. There you go.
He's a carbon copy of AJ Brown. He's a bigger receiver. He has speed. He can go up and get it. He had some big plays at Arkansas. I like where he went. He went to a good spot, a good team, and all of that. But also you got to think he's a rookie wide receiver. There's going to be a learning curve, and Tennessee's going to run the ball 500 times. So they still have Derrick Henry now, and just think. I also think with Treylon Burks is that he's going to see double teams early and often. There's nobody else on the other. Yeah, they got Robert Woods, but Robert Woods is coming off the ACL. He's not a burner. He's still a decent receiver, I guess, but he's going to have a lot of attention on him. I mean, a lot. Like, if you're gonna say who you're gonna stop when you play the Titans, first it's gonna be Derrick Henry, and then you have to go to you got to go to Treylon Burks, and then also you just don't know what Tannehill's gonna be.
I mean, I trust Tannehill a little more in terms from a stability standpoint. So from that,
he had a big fall off last year, though.
That's fine, but I trust him from a more of a stability standpoint. He's going to be the quarterback